Hello everybody, welcome to the CIO Summit and this masterclass about the key digital workplace challenges CEOs are facing and must keep an eye on while transforming to the cloud. Now, more and more companies are moving all components of their workplace to a cloud base. Now, not just their email servers and their internet, but all collaboration, communication, and device management, and of course, all the data that comes with it. So today's masterclass is not about why you should move your workplace to the cloud, as we already talked about it in the roundtable of the 25th of January, but this masterclass is more about the challenges that it brings and what you should typically keep an eye on and plan ahead for. So our first challenge is about the needs. So there are a lot of requirements, there are a lot of needs, and those all have to be counted for equally. So the first challenge is to capture all the requirements, and moving to the cloud is often started from inside the IT department with the requirements from that department. But as you're moving not only just for an IT reason or an infrastructure reason to the cloud, and you're also moving to software as a service model, you are bound to have product features that are there, that are new, and that are also changing from an ownership from the vendor. So the vendor will decide when they update or insert new features. So this means that your business will be affected during the migration, but also after the migration. So since you're affecting the end users or the business users, you also have to capture the business requirements and to be sure your transformation is aligned with all existing and new requirements. And because we're moving data from on-premise to the cloud, we also have to incorporate security and security requirements because they are at the end responsible, security is responsible for what is in the cloud and how it is protected. So you will also need to align with their requirements. So before we start planning and designing, it is imperative that we have all three requirements, so business, security, and IT, all aligned and all clear before we can start planning and designing. Second challenge is about the roadmap. So as we all know, workplace, it's not one product, but it's multiple products and multiple applications that interact with each other. So this implies that you cannot move your whole workplace overnight in one day, once all in one go. So you will have to cut it up in pieces, and you will have to migrate piece by piece. There, of course, the order is very important. If you migrate piece by piece, so you be sure that one piece that you are migrating today will not block another one down the line or vice versa. So you have to be very careful for that, and also that you don't have to deploy with limited features, because that is often a shortcut that is taken. Oh, we'll introduce that piece with these limitations, and then afterwards we will add these or we will make these limitations disappear and move to the full product. But that is often not well received by the end user. For example, if you would first move to Teams and then afterwards you will do Exchange, then there's a possibility that the calendar integration with Exchange Online is not there, so that within Teams you don't have the calendar icon and then you cannot plan meetings from there. And that could be seen for the end user as a limitation and a really annoying one. Another example is that if you would not enable OneDrive, but you want to already enable Teams, that people will not be able to share documents or files within a Teams chat or a Teams call. So it is very important that you create a well-thought plan on how to move forward, what is the roadmap, which piece are we going to do first and which piece are we going to do second. And that you align this with the requirements, both the technical requirements as the functional requirements, so that everything is aligned. Then the next challenge is about the cloud security. For years, we are used to putting everything in what we call the secure enterprise network, or the SEN, which is behind firewalls, and everything is what we call in the castle. So everything is guarded by the castle. In the cloud, we have to rely on the security by the vendor. So there we have to go to a zero trust model. So that means that in a zero trust network model, every network, even your own office network and your headquarters network, is seen as untrusted. So all the networks, if it's your home, if it's at a client, if it's at your headquarters, is seen as untrusted, and it's not a question on can it be breached or not, but when will it breached and how can we prevent it. So we don't rely no longer on the internal firewalls, but so we need something else. And how a zero trust network works is that we protect the both endpoints. So every application has a client and a server endpoint. So there we make it really clear that that both endpoints are protected, and no longer the network where the traffic is going from one endpoint to another, but we really secure the endpoints. And also Microsoft 365 is really built for zero trust network, because it also gives you another advantage, that is that all your cloud traffic doesn't have to go through the firewalls, doesn't have to be inspected. Not all packages have to be inspected. So that means that traffic will flow much quicker from A to B, making an optimized traffic for audio and for video. That also implies that you trust on the security that Microsoft is providing for both the client endpoint as for the server endpoint. There, Microsoft spends 1 billion a year on security, preventing about 700,000 cyber attacks per day. So this is really one of their key aspects that they have, protecting their cloud, which they've done very splendid up until now. Then for the next challenge, challenge 4 is working and deploying in a real remote context. This is one that was accelerated this year due to COVID, of course. So and it's in 2 pieces. So working and deploying in a real remote context is not only working from a remote context, so making sure that people can do whatever they need from a remote location, but and not only on their endpoint device, but also at your servers, because due to COVID, we not only saw that people had issues working from home, getting connected and getting to all the data that they needed, but also on the server side, we saw an issue that all of a sudden everybody started working on a remote desktop or Citrix, and those servers were really overloaded. So on one point, yes, we need to make sure that everybody can work from home. So therefore, we have endpoint management systems within the workplace like Intune, and we can make sure that people can always work from home. But on the other hand, we also have the issue that everybody working from home needs to use Citrix or VPN or another network connectivity that gets overloaded when all of a sudden everybody has to work. So therefore, it's also imperative that you move your primary usage from the remote desktop servers to the endpoint device, and that is something that also gets very easy to do with the Office 365 part. A lot of people only use email, Word, Excel, and the other Office tools to do their daily job, or they use it to do a percentage of their job, but the biggest percentage of their job. So those things can easily be moved to the endpoint instead of a server controlled in the secure enterprise network. Now, the next challenge, challenge 5, is a very important one, and one that's often left behind, and that is the user adoption. So if you move your workplace to the cloud, it's not only a technical move, but it has a big impact on the business. So it's also a business transformation, and their organizational change management is really required. And the best laid plans and the smoothest migrations will not be a success if your users are unable to use new products and new features. So if you don't have the right communication and the right procedures in place, especially if you're moving your whole workplace to a new platform with new apps, new way of working. It has to be prepared not only from a technical point, but also from an organizational point. So there it's very important that you organize yourself and your end users, that you record trainings, that you provide manuals and procedures, and that you really campaign your product. So end users are really impressed by both the product itself, but also how you did the transformation and how you brought it to the end user. Another tip on the change management is also to include the upper level as a pilot users, so they can carry out the new way of working. If people are in a meeting with their manager and their manager is using OneNote, Teams, they will be likely be pushed to use it themselves more often and really use the new tools. Then the next challenge is the evergreen features. So Microsoft 365 and cloud in general is really what we call a fast-moving target. So new features come out every month, or even the small features every week. So you have to be prepared to either evolve within the transformation, but also after the transformation to evolve with your product or with the product that is handed to you. So you can, of course, choose not to implement these features, but that will mean that you are paying for features that you're not using and that your business might need. So you can leave out this possibility, but as you're paying for it and as a business is continuously changing and having new requirements, it's best to put in place a governance that makes sure that you can evolve with this product and that new features and apps can be introduced. For example, last year we had the launch of Planner in Teams, which can be used to plan projects and to plan teams. A few months ago, we had Shift that was coming out into Teams, where you can really organize and manage your people and make sure that they can do leave requests off from the project that then can be organized. So it is really interesting to put these evergreen features into thought that if they come out, that you enhance and evolve your product with these features. And then the last challenge is moving to software as a service. So you are changing your way of operating. You're used to working with your own servers that need to be managed by yourself or by a third-party company. So now you're moving to software as a service, which means that you have less responsibility on the installation side, but more responsibility on the configuration side and on the maintenance side. So moving to software as a service is next to cost effective and a change for your operating team. And it's according model. So the operations people don't have to run around anymore with screwdrivers and fixing servers, replacing hard disks, and they don't have to install and maintain server products anymore. That burden is all taken away by the vendor. So you have to be sure that your operating model is adapted to either the new way of working, but also the new technologies. And you have to make sure that your people are trained and that they are knowledgeable, and preferably they are and they will stay certified. This will also help them to focus on one or more parts of the workplace product, making them also early adapters of new functionalities and possibilities, not only in the product itself, but also on the governance and on the management and the maintenance. The vendor is also adding new functionalities more and more. So this was it for our challenges. So now we can step ahead to the questions and answers, and we will open the microphones for the questions and answers.